Hello guys, now that you see what is the project about, let's see how it looks like before we even started with the design. So again, you will have the idea of kind of finding your spaceship, in this case the Futurama spaceship, and because always we have some sort of like a chubby spaceship, we want to make sure that we translate those proportions into our model. The model is going to have the open enclosure, the open space that is made out of the galvanized piece. This galvanized piece was made, actually was not made, but was purchased at a hobby store, at a craft store, and it was originally made, I guess, to just kind of put some sort of refreshments inside, like beer and or wine or whatever, lemonades or whatever it was. I think it's designed for that. Many people would use it for some sort of flower arrangements, but because I'm not in that part, I just figured that out, that I think people will use it for a recipient of some sort of liquid or ice or whatever. But anyway, because that kind of follows the idea that we want to have as a sort of the inside of the spaceship, or part of the cockpit, we want to use this for different purposes. The first one is because we have right now a total of 10 characters, but it can be more than them. In the future, we want to make sure that we have a space. So right in the middle, we're going to have a shelf. Now that shelf is going to be also the separation of the two levels of our spaceship. So on the top, we're going to have the control room, and on the bottom probably some more storage or whatever, but our idea is to make sure that we leave some of the metallic galvanized piece exposed, so it will give us that feeling that you're in a metallic look or metallic feeling type of place, space. So the material that I'm using over here to make our front is a piece of step. So it's like a thread made out of pine, fairly inexpensive, yet is 1 inch thick. And the idea with that is that we can round the edges, we can make it concave, actually convex in this case, and it will give us the feeling that we are in some sort of like a round spaceship. So now I started cutting, but I stopped because I wanted to show you the process, and you can get some inspiration so you can do it yourself. Do it for your kids or for yourself if you have these collections. It's okay. Uh, So the idea is that in this case you see the rocket, the propulsion part of here, and we are just tracing this. We're gonna cut it with the jigsaw that we have here. So now the space in the inside, actually we just shifted a little bit because we consider that it's better to leave that part exposed so we can have that open, the entrance over there, right? The platform that it kind of opens up. So we're not gonna have it open, but we're gonna just make it so it looks like it's part of the ship, instead of just kind of pushing this too much to the top. Now the tip or the front of the spaceship is a little bit elongated, so we're just going to probably modify. You see a little mark or a little trace. That's what we're going to use. And then on the bottom, later on over here, we're going to have the wings that kind of just kind of come out of the spaceship in some sort of a three-dimensional look. That's what we want to do. We're going to give the sense of the depth. So let's continue with a little bit of the measurements. Obviously, if you want to have this with some sort of depth, having some sort of inside enclosure would be awesome, like what we're doing right now. If not, you can actually just make the ship and probably just cut out to put the little shelving inside. It's still some space if you don't want to do it so deep. So okay, let's continue. Now that we traced the spaceship in the first kind of sketch, meaning like we want to make sure that if we have some sort of a contour that is more appropriate, we want to remove it with other tools that are not as intrusive as a jigsaw. So for that, what we're going to do is we're going to just kind of use the belt sander and other tools. And for now, we're going to worry about the opening that we're going to have. I'm going to use a router with a tip that is designed to kind of make all these openings. And obviously, if you don't have an idea of how to use a router. Maybe you can take a look at some other project that I've done and that I will be doing with routers, so you can just do it yourself. But in this case, we want to make sure that we do these openings before we start sending, because otherwise it will be a little harder once you have that contour on it. So let's continue. I want to give you some anecdotes that I have with routing systems. Once we have this top of the bucket that we got, let's call it like that, right on top of it with some nails, we're gonna go ahead and just kind of pass the router over and over. But I use this technique. I've seen a lot of people using routers, and I use them for a long time, only for edges when I'm doing a piece of wood or something. But as I learn more how to use a router, I've been finding many ways that you can apply these tools to. So for instance, if you have a countertop and you have a particular template, and you can just go ahead and use one of these bits that I'm using, and doing holes like that will make the cuts really right, nice and straight. Or if you want to finish other type of furniture that that will need a little insert or something, these routers are really good for those things. So I'm going to try other type of applications for the router table and the router itself that I have, and I will show you some projects that that I actually, sometimes I get some magazines and some books, and I go over some, what if I do, videos about this or that, because they're just, they look really fun. Sometimes I'm working and I can't find the time to be able to do some of these kind of hobby-like projects. But anyway, I mean, just be careful when you're working with routers, and I continue explaining more in a moment. Some of the important things that you need to consider when using a router. Now you can see what we did with the router. The router is a really cool machine to work with, really useful for many purposes, but it's also really delicate and dangerous, so I recommend you to take a look at some videos of how to use routers. I do have some videos, and I'm going to make more about how to use a router. Now you can see a beautiful and fine edge that you don't need to guess anymore, because we use the same piece that was kind of going around our recipient, our frame, as the template. So we're going to go ahead and superpose the metallic part and see what happens. See if we are right in the track of what we're going to do. And if so, well, we can actually see that it's nice and perfect. It's extremely going with the lines of our piece there, so it's perfect. So what we're going to do now is we're going to work on the rounding of the fuselage of the our spaceship, right? So for that we're going to use a belt sander and an orbital sander, but we're going to have some masks on so we can just work on this thing. This type of dust is not as thin as the one that we're going to use with the belt sander. So let's continue. Perfect. So now that we have our shape, we want to go ahead and start making those edges nice and round. And for that, you can start by using like an 80 grit belt on your belt sander. And so those belts are, sometimes you can get like 40, which is really rough for what you're gonna do. Then you can do 80, and then like 120, like what I'm gonna do at the end. So that helps a lot to be able to kind of eat through the wood in a gentle way. So and again, these machines are very strong. So you want to make sure that you either have your piece strapped to a piece of a table or something, or like a shelf or a bench, or somebody kind of helping you holding it. But once you finish with that, you have some limitations to it. For instance, over here when we're making like the section where the propulsion rocket is, then you end up having like other little tools, and these kind of oscillating saw with different blades. Like I'm using a regular blade to kind of eat through, and then in a moment I'm going to change it to a descending pad that it comes with. So you kind of take out the attachment, and you go ahead and put the other attachment. So that helps us to kind of round these little edges like that. So you notice that there are like little cuts over there that were made. Well, that those can be kind of filled later on. But this little machine kind of helps you to kind of go around instead of using a bigger orbital sander or so. So it's a really nice tool to have. little oxalating sauce like this can help you for so many different projects. So go ahead and continue giving that shape until you feel like you have the right amount of curve, and later on just kind of proceed for the other part of the finishing. Just put some attention into the other details that we need to go through, and let's make this happen. All right, now that we have the spaceship pretty much kind of like modeled already, we need to continue with the wing in the back. And the one wing, we're just gonna put one wing on the front because it's like a two-dimensional type of shelf. So we're gonna use that upper wing, and for that we kind of measure the proportion of how big it will be, and you just kind of have an idea of how big the wing is. Pretty big. So we're gonna just make that little curvature over here with the bell saw, the bell sander, and then later on we're just gonna polish these edges to make it look more like a wing. So we're gonna put some time into it. So let's continue. Now I have the three pieces over here. They are the main pieces that we're gonna use, besides the piece of wood that we're gonna use. But anyway, this is the bottom little wing, on the outside. It was shaped with the bell senders, the spring senders, whatever senders we have. Orbital senders and stuff like that. So this one will correspond to the one in the bottom. The other one is the big one. You're gonna see a little relief on it. Okay, a lot of dust over here, but we're working on the basement. Nothing crazy, You don't need to have like a crazy workshop to be able to do this thing. And obviously the body of the ship. We're gonna use this primer. We're just gonna prime the entire thing and let it dry for tomorrow, so we can continue tomorrow. So let me show you the stuff once we finish painting it. Obviously cover your face, like what we're doing right now. See, I'm using masks. We're using masks so we don't choke ourselves over here with dust and paint. Let's continue. When painting with spray cans or any sprayer, you want to go ahead and give some light layers or light coats of paint. Sometimes it's frustrating if you try to put a lot of it, because it will drip and it will kind of damage the purpose of having a nice and smooth finish. In this case, you have the leverage that you're gonna go and sand it anyway, but just be careful and just wait a little bit from coat to coat, so you have a nice and even layer of paint on it. And now that we have the first coat of primer, we're gonna go ahead and do some light sanding and apply, and light sanding with that 220 cement paper, and apply the first color on the ship itself. You can sound really funny when you're speeding up the images, but anyway, go ahead and just let it dry and sand it down. Now in this case, for full disclosure, the color that we picked, and this kind of light blue tone, was not something that at the end we were so happy about. So we was yeah, it's a nice color. Try to find something that kind of mimics those images. Sometimes the images are different colors anyway. So we went ahead and put this, I will call it like a light first coat, and then we realized that was kind of too blue. So we went ahead and got some sort of green apple type green, and we used that for the body of our ship, like our spaceship, and then for the wings we use a darker green. So don't get confused with the first coat that we put in this case. Now that we have the piece actually made over here, the shelf and some things, we're gonna go ahead and consider what we need to do in the inside, because we have other parts already painted. In this case, we have these features of the spaceship, so we want to go ahead and do something about that. See if we can bring some of those features to the cockpit itself, to the inside of our shelf. So using some sort of a paint We're gonna paint marker. So we're gonna go ahead and do some decorations in the inside, and then we're gonna continue with the installation with the other things. I'll show you in a moment what I'm talking about. When it comes to the inside of the ship, there were some things that were kind of going back and forth. We said how much of a model we want to make our shelf, or how much of like a cool display we want to make. So we had to kind of draw a line in the amount of features that we were to put inside the shelf. But we ended up just saying, you know what, let's paint like an inside loop with that green color that kind of goes with the design of the inside of the ship. And let's go ahead and do the little compartment door, or the door that goes on the bottom, I guess the escape door or whatever you want to call it. So that was the thing that we added on the ship by just kind of going around in a loop with the colors. We tried with the paint markers, but they were just too kind of tedious to work with. So we went ahead and just got a little sample paint, just like what we did with the red as a base, and we went around and we painted with that instead of just kind of putting all our intention into that. And for the shelf inside, what we're doing is that since we're putting a continuation of a red line that is featured on the ship, we went ahead and painted the front of the shelf with that color. Perfect. So now we have the inside, I guess, kind of laid out and see how we're going to work. And for like efficiency purpose, we want to go ahead and start painting that red line that is going to go across the fuselage of the ship, the body of the ship. And for that, what we're doing, and we line it up like that, so we kind of knew where the center was, and also just to kind of make some marks in the inside of the shelf, so we can actually line up the shelf with the red line and kind of paint a little thing, so we have like a nice continuation of the design. That was something that we kind of thought about. So in a moment we're just gonna remove that part and just kind of let it dry, make sure that we kind of clean the excess paint, because even with this type of special type of tape that will stop paint from just kind of seeping through, it just happens. So since it's a latex paint, you want to go ahead and just clean the little imperfections. So again, we went ahead and tried to work with those kind of paint markers and stuff like that, and just kind of go around it, but it was tedious. And again, we end up just kind of going with the same color but in a sample piece, in a sample container that we got for like a few dollars, and that will help us for many other projects. I'm actually thinking and using because now we have the new Han Solo movie coming up or whatever. I was thinking of making the Falcon. So maybe I can do that ship and display some of the Star Wars figures on that thing. So stay tuned, obviously, for more of those kind of fun videos, as well as videos that I make about other things like construction and organizers and remodeling and all the stuff that is really important. So we went ahead again and put a little red for base, then black and yellow, and just to kind of make it look like the one and the ship. By putting the shelf right there with the screws and stuff like that, I'm using this kind of small 1 inch and a quarter screws. Obviously, I'm pre-perforating the metal, so it kind of goes through in a nice way. But now the cool thing is that you can actually see the ship finally taking shape. So it's nice that we have that tip at the end painted with some sort of like hammer color, like a silver, and we are perforating that thing now. The little aluminum strip that you see there is something that I actually cut in half for from the hardware section of the home improvement store, and the little section that I'm kind of putting over there is made out of some soda can. So I went ahead and cut it and kind of make it look like a little vent, like an air vent. So you kind of display that, and I'm using a lot of hot glue to be able to to make it so it makes a lot of sense of what we're doing. So now you have the spaceship in the inside and the way we want it.
we went ahead and just put, other little features, and that's like a piece of pipe. It's a little pieces of wood that you can buy at the craft store. A little tip made out of some leftover Lego pieces that we had. The paint, now you can see how cool the background, the back of the shelf looks like with that kind of green. We made like little turret out of like one of those how you call eggs that you can buy, like the Kinder Surprise eggs. So they're really cool, and the supports that we have in the back are the ones that you will normally find for like frames and pictures and portraits and stuff like that. So let me give you the last part of the video now.
Well, now guys, you can see the final product of our shelf with the theme of Futurama. So a few things just to recap what we did is that we use mainly wood from a thread, piece of stud that is 1 inch thick, and this piece that we actually found at Hobby Lobby, and was part of something else. A piece of wood over here, paint, definitely spray paint, some other, a little bit of paint from other things. These two little windows are actually those kind of tags that you use with magnets to put in your refrigerator. We just kind of made on the hole. This aluminum part over here is the inside of a soda can. Those aluminum soda cans, the same thing with this other part over here. Some little pieces of aluminum that we had from leftovers and pieces of wood. These little things are from Lego. These are just little pieces of pipe that were cut and just kind of put their place there. But now this is the first one, and I hope that this will give you some inspiration so you can do your own Futurama shelf or other type of thing. So if you put a lot of likes on these things, a lot of comments, I will be encouraged to make more different themes. And I hope this one, it's not a huge big deal, but it's something a little different that you should be trying yourself. So thank you so much. Don't forget to subscribe, like the video, and share with your friends. I'll see you in the next one. Bye bye.